It was the answer to a question that all of America was waiting to hear. Did he or didn't he?
We've carefully examined all the evidence in this case and have concluded that no charges will be filed against anyone in this case.
Now, after weeks of speculation, the state attorney said that there wasn't enough evidence for any case to move forward against the star quarterback at Florida State.
And I think people need to realize these athletes are on campus. And sometimes there are people that target these athletes.
So now the ball is in Jameis Winston's court.
We have discussed possible legal actions. His reputation is important to him. His career is important to him. Certain organizations and certain statements have been made that maligned him.
We've got a wrap-up of the complete story from all the angles and, of course, your comments. The News at 5 starts right now.
Live from the WTXL studios, this is ABC 27's News at 5.
We believed from day one in December that this was a consensual act between Mr. Winston and a young woman. We believed it December, we believed it in February, and we believe it today.
That's defense attorney Tim Jansen speaking out just a short time after his client, Jameis Winston, is cleared of any wrongdoing. Tonight, the star quarterback will not face any charges in the sexual assault investigation. Good evening. I'm Abby Maurer.
And I'm Rockman Johnson. You're inside the News at 5. Tonight, the cloud that hung over Jameis Winston is gone. State Attorney WILLIE MEGGS made the announcement this afternoon. He said there just wasn't enough evidence there to press charges. Now, a nearly year-long investigation into the accusation that found Winston did have some type of consensual contact with the complainant, but nothing was forced. Now, we have live team coverage tonight. As the top story, ABC 27's Jade Balexa is live at the Doak Campbell Stadium. And as the team gears up to face Duke this weekend, Jade, what's the mood on campus tonight?
Good evening, Rockman. Jameis Winston will be leaving with the Seminoles for the ACC championship this weekend. Now, like you had mentioned, no charges will be filed against Winston, and WILLIE MEGGS today making the announcement and saying it's their duty as prosecutors to only file charges in cases when they have a, quote, reasonable likelihood of conviction. He says they do not feel like they had sufficient evidence to take the case any further.
In the laboratory work that we did, and you'll see that in the reports when you see them, in the laboratory work that we did, there were DNA from males. One was identified as being Winston's DNA, and the other one was unknown. And obviously, if we were going to proceed to trial, having an unknown DNA in a sexual assault kit would be a problem.
And Coach Jimbo Fisher releasing a statement tonight saying he is pleased with the outcome. He says he's happy that Winston can now focus on being a student and also helping the team in achieving its goals. And Fisher also said he's looking forward to this weekend's game. And ahead at 5:30, we're going to have reaction from students. Live in Tallahassee, Jade Balexa, WTXL ABC 27, dedicated to you.
And joining us now with more coverage on the Winston decision is WTXL's Christina Resnick, who joins us live now in the newsroom. And Christina, what is the reaction to State Attorney WILLIE MEGGS' decision not to file charges?
Well, Abby, today Winston's defense attorney Tim Jansen spoke to the media just an hour after MEGGS made the announcement that they will not be pressing charges against Winston. Jansen maintained that the encounter between Winston and the alleged victim was consensual. He commended MEGGS and the state's attorney's office for examining DNA evidence and talking with witnesses who were there the night of the alleged incident. Jansen had this to say about how Winston feels about the outcome.
We're satisfied with the investigation. Jameis is satisfied. I spoke to Jameis a few minutes ago. I was with him. I spoke to his parents. I was with them. I talked to them on the phone, and they're completely satisfied that this is done. He can move forward. He actually had an exam at 1 o'clock today.
Now, Jansen also handed out a statement from Jameis Winston himself. Winston says in that statement, quote, "I want to thank my family, friends, coaches, and teammates for standing by me during this difficult time. I also want to thank the state's attorney's office for examining all of the facts and reaching a decision in a conclusive manner. It's been difficult to stay silent through this process, but I never lost faith in the truth and in who I am." Jansen said Winston may be speaking to the media at some point in the future, but he has not made a final decision on that yet. Live in the newsroom, Christina Resnack, WTXL, ABC 27, dedicated to you.
And the accuser's family has just released this statement. It says, quote, the victim and her family appreciate the state attorney's efforts in attempting to conduct a proper investigation after an inordinate delay by the Tallahassee Police Department. The victim in this case had the courage to immediately report her rape to the police, and she relied upon them to seek justice. The statement goes on to say the victim has grave concerns that her experience as it unfolded in the public eye and through social media will discourage other victims of rape from coming forward and reporting, end quote. And our sports director Brad Dalton is joining us now. And Brad, now that we know Winston is not being charged in this case, what does this mean for the ACC championship game that's this weekend, also for the Heisman Trophy and for Winston's football career in the future?
Well, I think at least in the short term, this is going to continue to hang over his head. You look at other athletes like a Kobe Bryant and Ben Roethlisberger that have been involved in somewhat similar cases, and it's still associated with their name even now. And when Winston does go to the NFL in a couple of years, you know every team is going to ask about that at the Combine, and it is going to be a subject that he's going to have to address again. But I do believe over time, especially here in the Tallahassee area, this one will slowly start to go away where he can finally start focusing on football. As for the Heisman Trophy, the ballots are not due until Monday night. I know a lot of people that have votes for the Heisman Trophy have said that they were going to hold off until this happened. Now there's nothing that would prevent them from voting in Jameis, and he is prohibited favorite to walk away with the trophy next Saturday. As for this weekend, we know that with no charges coming, there's no more cloud of speculation over his head. He's going to be allowed to play in the game against the Duke Blue Devils. And we now know that we don't have to worry about, even for the national championship game, that charges might come up, which could prevent him. Earlier this afternoon, Florida State's Director of Athletics, Stan Wilcox, released this statement. Based on this afternoon's announcement by the state attorney, Jameis Winston's status as a Florida State University student athlete remains unchanged. We have been respectful, impartial, and fully cooperative in the legal process that has now run its course. And the university will have no further comment on this matter at this time. So for Saturday, we're all set. Jameis and the team finishing up practice as we speak. They're going to get on a plane a little bit later tonight, head up to Charlotte, and get ready for the ACC championship game Saturday night right here on ABC.
And I'm sure this is going to help alleviate any concerns, and they can just go out there and play ball.
And the focus, of course, is on him. As I'm looking at social media, everyone's saying, let's just let this kid play ball. But as Tim Jansen said at the end of his press conference, it may be time to get his client's reputation back in order, and that may involve some lawsuits.
He handled this well beyond his years throughout the last 3 weeks. He was able to focus just on football, but you know, as a 19-year-old kid, it did weigh on him some. Now at least that pressure is off of him. He can just focus on being a student athlete.
Okay, thanks Brad.
Well, our chief meteorologist, Casanova Nurse, is joining us now to take a look at the weather, something that I know we can take a breather about as well. And Cass, temperatures are dropping a little bit, yeah? And as we get closer and closer toward the weekend?
Perhaps only because of extra cloudiness. I think we stay way above average. We keep some of the mugginess. We'll even increase our rain chance. That's still in the picture as high pressure currently dominating much of the weather pattern near the Big Bend and across the peninsula will battle against an approaching front. The same Arctic front that's spreading some extremely cold air across the western two-thirds of the country. It's going to try to make some advancements in our region, but not a whole lot of rapid success. So what we have right now, temperatures well into the 70s. We've even been well into the 80s in Valdosta earlier, still in the 80s in Bainbridge. Tallahassee exceeding the previous record high temperature. And all the warmth is accompanied by quite a bit of moisture. Dew point levels continuing to rise. Readings in the 60s to around 70, indicating a lot of available moisture here at the surface. That's thanks to that south wind flow, which has continued, and that's been a little bit brisk today. So that could maybe prevent the widespread dense fog issues, maybe keeping the air stirred up just enough to keep it from getting too incredibly dense. But I still expect at least a little bit of fog, scattered cloudiness. What else to expect as we go into the weekend and beyond? I'll let you know in your Storm Team forecast.
Tonight, fast food workers here at McDonald's on Orange Avenue and across the country are taking a stand to demand a living wage. Reporter Steve Jelback was there as the protests unfolded.
Around 40 people marched and protested early Thursday morning in front of Crystal on Moreland Avenue, fighting for $15 an hour.
Because they're forced to work at poverty they wages.
I want them to know that $15 an hour is not too much to ask for.
After 7 years at Long John Silver's, Antoine Brown makes $7.50 an hour.
It's against your constitution, I feel like. You can't pursue happiness if you're starving and you're hungry.
About half fast food workers and half union volunteers. The same fast food strikes organized by Atlanta Jobs with Justice took place back in August. One worker from Church's Chicken came out again today.
I feel as if we continue to stand up, we will eventually be heard.
They estimate there's about 77,000 fast food workers here in the city of Atlanta with an average pay of $8.50 an hour, so going up to $15 an hour would be about a 75% increase. But wages that high would likely mean cutting the number of workers while raising prices.
I don't think it has to go up too much. I think they're doing a pretty good job over there.
And I myself have asked a couple of my customers, would they mind if our chicken went up a little more? And they said no, if they know it's going to something to help feed families or, to help us.
While some in the restaurant industry call these protests more of an organized PR campaign from outside labor groups than an actual strike, they are getting noticed.
As the news at 5 continues, the push to extend unemployment insurance continues.
What it could mean if a decision is not reached by December 28th. Plus, disturbing news for college students. The average student loan debt continues to rise. See how Florida compares to the rest of the nation.
Plus, there's a school shooting in Florida that leaves one student in the hospital and another in jail. The news at 5 continues. Back in a moment.